Hi, my name is Vanessa. I know that there are a lot of families where the parents or one of them is an alcohol or drug addict. I always thought it wouldn't affect me, that my family was exemplary. It was like that for a while, and then my father went on a bender. After he left, my mother became very disappointed in everything and took up drinking. And then my personal nightmare began. The house became dirty, there was hardly any food, but there were a lot of empty bottles. At first, I kept quiet, went to school, and cleaned the house every day after class, trying to keep it more or less clean and tidy. The money we had, my mother spent on alcohol. It got to the point where there was no food left at all. Mom, can we buy something to eat? I'm hungry, and also our lights are out. You haven't paid in over 6 months. But Mom was face down on the couch and mumbled something like, "Fuck you." Mom, I'm hungry. Give me some money. I'll at least get some milk or a bun. Leave me alone, or at least go buy me some more brandy. I took the money and bought some food, hoping my mother would be asleep when I got home. But no, she wasn't asleep. She made a scene, screamed, called me a naughty bullshit girl, and then took my food and threw it in the trash. I wanted to get it out of the bag, but she pushed me away. Mom, what are you doing? What did you say to me? Come here. I'm hungry. I'm your daughter. What are you doing? A daughter doesn't steal from her mother. You're not my daughter, okay? She grabbed the phone and called someone. 3 hours later, people came and took my things and told me to get out. I struggled and begged and pleaded with my mother not to send me anywhere. But the only thing she said was, "In a concentration camp, they'll teach you not to steal." That was it. I had never felt more pain inside me. The men put me in the car. Although they weren't wordy, they did tell me that the camp is not a concentration camp for prisoners, as my mother put it. It's a closed type. There are supervisors and troubled teens. Shit, but I didn't think I was like that. I didn't steal or use anything at all. They pushed me out of the car and showed me my room. The camp looked like an abandoned old hospital, and I had to sleep in a dormitory. I was checked into a room with 2 girls, Beef and Rachel. They squinted at me. After a minute, the curator dropped off my uniform and took my clothes away. "Hey, new girl, what you in for?" Nothing. That's what they all say. You've been stealing, haven't you? Or selling something, like yourself? No, I didn't sell anything. That's okay, you can tell me later. We've got our own rules here. You touch my stuff, you're dead. You hear me? You touch mine, I'll cut you. I got it. I didn't sleep that night. I was afraid of being attacked. The first week, I made a few conclusions. You have to eat quickly or not get enough food. Get up in time, otherwise not be able to sneak into the toilet. Do not make noise or talk unnecessarily. The quieter you are, the safer you are. I hid a fork under my pillow, just in case. The girls in my room didn't talk to me much, though they did try to mock me a couple of times. Once in the morning, I didn't find my uniform while I was looking for it. I was late for breakfast, and I was hungry till lunch. We also went to classes there, like school. I did all my homework. There was nothing else to do anyway. My homework used to get crumpled up or thrown away or burnt. I would get an F and work it off, scrubbing the floors. Well, the last time, my nerves failed. That day, I called my mother to find out how she was, but in response, I just heard a cold. "Have they let you out already? Don't come home, or you'll steal something else." Tears came to my eyes, and I felt as if the whole world had turned away from me. "Why are you crying?" "None of your business." "Look at you talking. It ain't even a month ago, and she's already got a temper." "Get out of my face!" "What did you say?" "What did you hear?" The 2 of them jumped me, grabbing my hair, screaming. I fought as hard as I could. I was so angry that it made me shake. Then the supervisor came in. He was kind of new. He was a strange-looking man, slightly hunched over, with a terrible speech impediment. He barked "affair" at us, and then stood there for a few more minutes, watching us make up the bed. We went to bed in silence. Even Ray and Beef didn't speak. During the night, I woke up to a wild scream. Rachel was screaming at the top of her voice. "Help! Help!" There was no time to turn on the light, but from the moonlight, I knew who it was. The man sat on top of Rachel and grabbed her by the throat. Beef went numb with fear. I quickly jumped out of bed and threw myself at the man. It's definitely him, I realized. He sharply pushed me away and I fell to the floor, and before I knew it, I'd grabbed the fork from under my pillow and stabbed him in the leg. He cried out but backed away, and then quickly took off. I turned on the light and checked on Rachel. "Help!" I yelled, but Ray interrupted. No, don't. What? Are you out of your mind? What if he comes back? I remember what he looks like. We can catch him. Don't, I know who he is. It's her stepfather. What? He hates me. He got me in here. I've changed to a lot of camps, but he still won't let me live if I'm alive. What did you do to him? My mom's house is in my name. He wants it any way he can get it. What about your mom? What about my mom? Would a good mother let her child live in a place like this? That's true. My mother sent me here because I sold her dress to eat. Mine too. I wanted to eat and she sent me here. Wow, we have more in common than I thought. Look, I'm sorry I said some things I didn't mean. It's okay. It's impossible to say too much. It's all true. We complained to the supervisor the next day anyway, and he got in trouble for falling asleep during the night. Then I took Rachel by the hand and took her to the principal's office to write a report and call the cops. She resisted for a long time, but I told her that as long as that was the case, people like him would continue to make her life miserable. It was only afterward that she agreed. From then on, we became friends. Very good friends, in fact. And then it was time to send us home, and I didn't want to go back. My mother met me drunk, as usual, and tried to raise her hand and call me names and swear. I had tears in my eyes. Didn't you even miss me? I asked her. Who? Your damn father or you? Me, Mom, me. I didn't even notice your absence. What have I done to you that you hate me so much? What? You give me a headache. Answer me! Do you want to know the truth? You made my husband leave. What does that even mean? That's what it means. I gave birth to you, I got fat, I got stuck at home on maternity leave. He started walking around, and before you, we were fine. And now I'm all ugly and no use to anyone. It's all your fault. It's not my fault, Mom. It is. Other people's children are born beautiful, and you took away all my beauty. Her words sent a chill down my spine. I knew that this was bullshit, but it also meant that that's it. My mother would never come back as a mother. I turned around and walked toward the door. My mom was yelling something like, grab her a brandy if I went to the store. No, Mom, I'm not going to the store. Where are you going then? You should get a job. I'm running out of money. Goodbye, Mom. I don't think we'll see each other again. What did you say? Where are you going? I won't let you go. You owe me. Work off the money I invested in you. Goodbye, Mom. I said, stop. I slammed the door in her face and ran away. Do you think I didn't care or I wasn't angry? Not really. I was heartbroken, depressed. I just had a fraction of a hope that she'd realize something, that she needed me, her daughter. But fuck it. Pardon the expression, but that was how I felt. I bawled my way around the corner, and then I called Rachel. She knew what it was and texted me her address right away. Rachel met me on the doorstep like I was her own family, and then took my suitcase and invited me in. Her mother was mad at her about her stepfather's application, so she left the house. Rachel was alone and she let me live with her. I don't think that's the worst thing that could have happened, so whatever didn't happen was for the best. Rachel and I went back to work. We often went to visit Beef, and she came to visit us. Things are tough with her family too, so we're already thinking of a plan to get out of town and leave everyone here who betrayed us. Do you think we're doing the right thing? And what would you do if you were me? Or maybe you have a special approach to alcoholic parents? Please share, and yes, thank you for watching.
My name is Anna. I want to tell you a story about my crazy half-brother, Tom. More specifically, how he tried to get me out of the house. To begin with, I didn't find out about Tom's existence very long ago. In general, my father and I lived together. My mother and I were divorced a long time ago, and I don't even remember her. Dad worked and I went to school just like everyone else. But one day, people I didn't know came to our house. I didn't understand what it was at first. A woman with a teenage boy asked me to call my father. I immediately noticed that something was wrong with the kid. He kept looking at me from under his brows. You'd think he hated me, but why would he? We don't even know each other, I thought, and I was wrong. It turned out that this was my half-brother. This woman next to him, his mother. We share a father. Naturally, we were both taken aback by this news. At first, Dad didn't want to admit this fact. He even pretended that they had the wrong address. But the woman was persistent. It was simple. Dad had an affair a long time ago with a certain person, and that woman, when she got pregnant, didn't tell her father about it because he was missing. My father doubted if this was his son, but then he looked at the boy and the questions were settled. He was an exact copy of my late grandfather. Apart from the similarities in appearance with the same hateful look, a little withdrawn, unsociable, taciturn. These two did not think long and stayed temporarily to live with us. Oh, I didn't say. That woman demanded a large sum of money from father for the maintenance of her son. Otherwise, she promised to hire a lawyer and resolve the issue according to the law. Well, while Dad was looking for money, they decided to stay with us. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life. Not only did Miss Holt, Tom's mother, make a mess of the house, but her son continued to stare at me like a killer. At first, I had no idea what this guy was up to. But one morning when I woke up, I saw a note on my dresser in my room. It said, "You're not welcome in the house." I can't say that I was scared, but it was unpleasant, and I knew that Tom was. I crumpled the paper in my fist, stormed into his room, and threw it in his face. I yelled at him, told him it was my house, and let him remember it. At this moment, Miss Holt came in. She saw her son lying awake in bed, and I was yelling at him. Of course, she got it all wrong and threatened me. "If you touch him again, you'll have to deal with me," she told me. Oh, I was beside myself with anger. In the evening, I had a serious conversation with my father. He said that he was sorry about all this, but asked me to be patient for him and my mother. Then he promised to get my mother back, no matter what it took. But first I had to get the money for these two. I gathered my will and decided to be more restrained. The next day, when I got back from school, Tom was sitting in the kitchen having lunch. His mother was hanging around again. My half-brother was in his favorite position, staring at me from the corner of the table. I pretended not to notice him and sat down to eat. Suddenly, the phone rang. When I answered the phone, I went back to my seat and saw dead flies on my plate. I glared at Tom, and he just sat there and didn't even blink. Remembering my promise, I silently threw my lunch in the trash and went to my room. There was a fire burning inside me. I wanted to throw that plate in his face. And so it was every day. Tom was always coming up with something. He would throw my neighbor's dog's feces under the bathroom door, turn off the light in the toilet, and once even cut up my favorite sweatshirt. I held on, but with the last of my strength. I wasn't ready to give up and give him my seat. This was my home and my family, and I was determined to stand up to the end. About 2 weeks later, the little bastard had outperformed all his crazy antics. I once passed by his room. He was just not at home. And there I found a photo from my photo album. Everywhere on my face, eyes are cut out. My mouth, my face is baked with a pen. It was a nightmare. I went to deal with Miss Holt, but she wasn't there either. I know it's not good to go through other people's things, but in her purse, I found medical reports that Tom is suffering from a mental disorder. He's paranoid. That's why he's so unsociable and tried to hurt me in every way. He's just not healthy, I thought. I told my father, and he spoke to Miss Holt. It turns out that she was looking for money for her son's treatment. He is always afraid that he will be left alone, and therefore behaves like this. I know he's made trouble for Anna, but that's only because he thinks she's superior to him in everything. He's afraid I'll leave him and take her with me. It's my fault that he's like this. Miss Holt said to her father and began to cry. I overheard the conversation and felt sorry for him. My father said that, if possible, he would help as much as he could. "After all, this is my son too, even though you hid this fact," he said. Dad was very worried about the upcoming conversation with me. He knew how hard the house had been for me lately. He asked me several times to forgive him for what happened, for the fact that I had to pay for his irresponsibility in my youth. Yes, I don't dispute it. I didn't like that everything in our house had changed and that we now had strangers living with us. But when I found out that Tom needed serious treatment, I felt sorry for him. At the same time, I saw how kind my father was. In general, the four of us have been living together ever since. Dad was actively involved in Tony's treatment. We didn't get along very well, but at least he stopped looking at me like a killer. And Miss Holt wasn't such a bitch.